Alright guys, we're about to start our next game. I just want to point out our next two Code S groups, Group E and Group F. As you can see in Group E, we've got MMA, Gumiho, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Zenio. And F, we've got MVP SC, the new addition to EG, JYP, and MVP Dongregu and MVP Genius as well. So a pretty good group for the new EG recruit, JYP. I think he can probably manage his way through that one. It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely possible for him. And we may have yet another EG player in Code S. Or, you know, staying in Code S. Of course, they've got Greg in there now as well. And of course, don't forget that Zenio recently switched teams as well. He's playing against Yu-Gi-Oh! There's going to be some ZVZ in that group, and MMA should definitely get out of there, but Gumiho is still a good contender. I'll talk more about that later, but up here at the top right of our losers match, it's OGS InCa. And of course, down here at the bottom left, it's Startail Hope Torture, also otherwise known as Rainbow. He's the one player who does not differentiate between his IDs. Sometimes players get a new ID, they have multiple IDs, they pick one, they stick with it. This guy, he doesn't do that. It's never clear. So you'll hear me refer to him as both names throughout this game, because he's always Hope Torture to me. Remember we played in the King of the Beta under the ID Rainbow, and then ended up switching his name to Hope Torture in the first season of GSL. And then put his name back to Rainbow at some point. And when he switched his name back to Rainbow, he started doing worse. And then he re-qualified for the GSL with the name Hope Torture again, if I remember correctly. So, kind of a funny run for this guy. He tends to do better when his name is Hope Torture. Looks like we've got a Nexus first coming along here for InCa, with how many probes he had queued up on that Nexus. And we're about to find out if gas will be taken for Hope Torture. Probably not. It's a really good map for one barracks expand. Probe sneaks around here. Okay, no gases. I will do my Nexus first. I think that makes sense. You're going to do a one barracks expand anyways. You're not going to put a lot of pressure on me. All I have to do is make sure that you don't bunker my Nexus, and I will be fine. And there it is. Nexus. Of course, the probe continuing along here. Not going to have to leave the base until the Marine comes out, so he was able to damage and annoy several SCVs along his path. He's even going to come in here a second time. Now, the reason why he wants to come here the second time is to note the timing of the orbital. If the orbital had not started, he would know that additional barracks have been hidden elsewhere, but because the orbital started promptly at the completion of that barracks, it was okay. Normal barracks timing. No hidden barracks, your orbital started immediately. That's a good tell, that's a good scout there by InCa, sends his probe home. And Hope Torture debates putting his command center on the high ground, but decides to double gas and has tricked us all. He's also going to come over here and get his first glimpse of the Nexus first. Sees that, is going to go into the main base. Cyber Core does go down for InCa. Of course, at a later timing than normal, but a perfectly fine timing for Nexus first. And the command center is made on the high ground for Hope Torture, but his gas timing is a little bit weird. He doesn't quite have enough gas to make a factory yet. We'll see him drop that pretty soon, though. And the SCV does get out of here. Wanted to see if his opponent had double gassed or not. Also, was kind of able to see, did you add multiple gateways? What are you doing with your gateway timings? Wasn't able to see a whole lot, but that's kind of telling that he didn't add additional gateways yet, just stuck with the one. Stalker is being chrono boosted out now for InCa, which is going to really help him deal with this pressure that's coming on with these two Marines. There's a probe patrolling for possible bunkering. A probe does run away immediately for InCa. The Stalker is now out. These Marines may get a probe. It's going to be hard to stop that from happening. Stalker is out though, and one probe will fall. That's all. Hope Torture's Tech Lab completed here. He's going to do a switch. Going to be going for Banshees here, interestingly enough. Since he's got the double gas, he may go for Cloak. And because InCa is going for a gateway heavy follow-up, the Cloak could do a lot of damage. Remember as well that InCa is really well known for his Twilight Council tech, and Hope Torture's known that he really likes to go fast Twilight Council in all matchups except PvP. Of course, nobody likes to do that. He gets a pretty quick Twilight Council, but not Dark Templar tech. But if you go for Blink tech or fast Dark Templar tech, you can get totally caught off guard by Cloak Banshees and not have protection. And there's the Cloak research immediately upon the completion of the Starport, as well as the first Banshee. So therapy sessions have been going well for Hope Torture. He's after his mishap with the Banshees last game. He's making Banshees at appropriate timings now. He's okay. Next first is okay for Banshees. There's already a Robo on the way. As soon as that bunker was scouted, immediately he knows what's going on. Even if it's no Banshees, no Cloak, he's gonna have Siege Tanks out. He's gonna want to get Immortals. So good scout there. The second he saw the bunker, makes the Robo. This actually happened to me a lot on the Korean ladder, where people will show no gas. When my probe leaves, they double gas. Ooh, the Sentry a little bit out of position. But with good Stalker Micro, he should be able to deal with this no problem. He's actually going to warp in 2 more Stalkers at the pylon. And these Marines, if they decide to turn home, will be caught. They're actually not going to turn around. Well, now he's captured. These Marines have nowhere to run. Run away with that engine Stalker. Sentry taking a little bit of damage. Alright, the final Marines do fall. Supply count getting up and up for InCa. The first Banshee is out. Cloak is finished. The first Observer is almost out. He does not have any Stalkers at home right now, though. They're all out in the middle of the map, so the Banshee will do a lot of damage regardless. The second Banshee is about to come out. Damages this bunker slightly, but no real damage done. Here's the first Banshee. Probes being pulled. There is an Observer here. Just barely having that warp in done. Gets the chase of that Banshee away. Banshee does spot the double forge follow-up to this. Second Observer pops out. Now he's going to have 2 Observers, 1 in the main, 1 in the natural. Banshee remains alive with only 2 kills. Well, the second Banshee is going to get the Sentry at the very least. Pretty good hit, especially considering that Sentry had full energy. As you can see back at home, barracks have been added for Hope Torture. Has not started Siege Tank production yet. It does have Stim on the way, 2 engineering bays to come up to help equal out the upgrade power of the forges. Twilight Council is on the way, but the pylon has been spotted and he's not dealt with that yet. There he goes. Actually supply block InCa. We make some additional pylons. 2 cannons go up for InCa now as well, just as a defensive posture against these Banshees. Combat shields on the way as well as +1 and concussive shells. Cloak is kind of rendered useless at this point because of these Observers, but even so, he's left 1 Banshee cloaked. Bit of a misstep, I feel. Observer is going to come in here and scout. He's very careful with this. He knows the possibility of a Raven is there, so he's got to be very careful with this. Wants to scout his opponent's composition, wants to check and see if he's got a third. He knows it's very unlikely with the build he's done. He has a third base, so he's just going to kind of hover around, wants to see the unit composition. With the cannon there, the Banshee's not going to be able to continue, not going to be able to pursue any more probe killing. Does get 1 probe, not quite, almost getting 1 probe. And we'll get a Stalker though. And perhaps a second Stalker. Okay, now with the third Stalker being working, it's going to be too much. Banshee falls. Oh! Just barely did not. Templar Archives on the way. Charge. 1-1, of course, very close to finishing it. It's only halfway done, but that's very close to finishing when you consider how fast a Protoss can chrono boost those upgrades out. 1-1 on the way, of course, for Hope Torture. His +1 weapons much further ahead than his actual armor upgrade. You can see he's also got a decent amount of medevacs out already. He's going to continue this harassment with the Banshee, but be very careful. Nice control here. The Banshee with just 1 hit left gets away after killing a few more probes. This is a much better usage of the Banshees this game than we saw him do last time against Stone Rigu. Storm is on the way. 3rd Nexus coming up for InCa. 1 more shot will take out that Banshee. Stalker's there to do it. And gets away. Nice control. Look at that army of Hope Torture getting larger and larger. He's a little bit ahead of his supply of his opponent. 5 more gateways being added for InCa though, and when that third base is up and secure, it's going to be really easy to use all those gateways. These Banshee is completely exposed here. Does cloak. Barely escapes. It's just been the story of Hope Torture's Banshees here in this game of the first game of the loser set. That's a lot of bio forces. They are going to be at 1-1 to match InCa's upgrades. Gonna maybe get a sentry here. Does get a sentry. Could get an immortal. You go for the High Templar though instead. I like this choice. I think the choice to storm there was a little bit weird. Could have gone for the feedback instead. Hard to say if that would have been the right choice considering the hit points and how far away the Banshee was from the cannon, but this really big push is coming down to the third base location of InCa. He does not have enough defense here. In fact, he's out of position right now. Will he go for the Nexus? No, he's going to stim and go for these gateways. The gateway is actually working against InCa here. He's going for the Nexus now, and the Nexus will absolutely fall. No way is he going to hold that. Archon coming in to take some damage, but look at this. The Zealot's charging in. The Stalker's in the way, though. The Immortal's not able to fire. Really nice micro by Hope Torture. But there are so many Stalkers here, the stim does wear off, and now the Immortals doing extra damage to the Marauders. Things looking grim for this army of Hope Torture, but he was able to kill the Nexus. He's still got a strong army. Also eliminated those High Templar and the Archons. Now he's got the high ground advantage here. Scary moment. I cannot believe he's going to try to commit to this. Yeah, it needs to go back. Showing InCa his place there with that high ground advantage. 2-2 is on the way for both players around similar timings, but of course, again, with Chrono Boost, InCa's going to have his out much quicker if he decides to use that Chrono Boost efficiently on them. You can see these two Immortals in the mix actually made such a splash against this extremely Marauder-heavy army for Hope Torture. Storm is done now, but he does not have enough energy on any of these Templar just yet to use it correctly. But I like his High Templar timing here. I really feel that he's actually gotten his High Templar at a really appropriate timing. He got it out a little bit early. Even with the third base, it was kind of almost as if he was doing too much, but after defending against the Banshee harass, it was a pretty good time to have that. He's had that out for quite some time now. Expected there to be an observer watching him here, but there was not. The Stalkers in the front again, blocking off these units, but the Storms go down. They're pretty good. And Zealots going to work, and it looks like Hope Torture has just barely enough push this back. Not quite. His reinforcements are not actually joining up with this army. He does target down the last Immortal. And yeah, he does have enough to kill these Stalkers. Just barely. But meanwhile, his forces kind of got split in two, and InCa got the better exchange there. His 2-2 was not complete before that battle. Lonely Archon almost taken out of medevac. The upgrade's very even so far. I like Hope Torture's decision from the beginning to get the double engineering base. This Archon barely going to get out alive. Not quite, actually. But a lot of stim being used to kill that particular Archon. There's the 2-2 finishing up now for Hope Torture. The supply a little bit ahead for Hope Torture. These Archons are consistently out of position. He's going to be careful about that. It's a lot of gas. He's switching into Colossi. And Hope Torture is not yet aware of this. He has not started switching into Vikings. He's going to be caught with his pants down a little bit when the first two Colossi get out with range. He may be able to scout this. He may scan this. He may see it with these drops he's sitting up to the top left. Now, InCa does not really have any defense in his main against these drops. Meanwhile, he's taking the watchtower. The drop in the main base, though, will commence here. And he's going to actually get the Robo and the robotic support bay, which means no more Colossi, so that's one way to deal with Colossi. And now InCa in an awkward position. Does he remake Colossi? He's going to kill a lot of SCVs here. And if the units try to come down the ramp to counterattack, he's got Storms ready. Look at the worker count, 67 to 51. In InCa's favor, but with mules, Rainbow definitely still has the better economy. So Chrono boosts out a few more workers. He's got 3-3 on the way. Both players do. Double Robo to really get those Colossi out quickly. A feedback goes off on the medevac, but there's not enough energy there. Ends up being a waste. Does not have Blink, as far as I know. He's really just going purely Zealots and High Templar. And very few Stalkers in this composition. I'd like to see him get Blink. It's good to have a few Stalkers in your composition. They do, when they have 3-3, do a lot of damage to Marauders. They're a great way to add some extra DPS in. Archon's not going to close the distance that fast. It's good to just have a few Stalkers in there to kill those units before they get out-healed by the medevac. This is a scrawny little army out here for InCa, but he's going to catch a smaller army of his opponent out in the middle of the map. He's up 40 supply right now. This is just a very zealot-heavy army that's, like I said, it's a little scrawny. It doesn't have a lot of beef to it. He doesn't have much to deal with the Vikings. He's not going to have any support for that one Colossus. He's actually switching into double Immortal production here because he did not remake his support, but he couldn't. He didn't have the Robo up in time, so he's going to get a few more Immortals out here. He's kind of got his opponent sieged up at the front. He's setting up almost a hard contain here. And his 4th base is on the way. Notice that he can never really pick off these medevacs. His Stalker count is not quite high enough. The medevac count may be even a little bit too high for his opponent, though. So many medevacs out. He's got not a lot of units on the ground. And it looks like we're going to have a commitment to an engagement here. There are no ghosts out, remember, so these High Templar, despite being bunched up, have so many storms. I feel like that's a really big oversight that that Rainbow, he's just not made any Ghost Academy. He's not made any ghosts in his composition. They're not to be found. This wall off is going to make it difficult to engage here, but the High Templar on the left side doing some extra damage. Could actually decide to storm those SCVs as well. Hope Torture back in this base now. It's 3-3 against 3-2 as far as upgrades go. +3 armor about to finish for the ground troops of Hope Torture. Still down exactly 16 workers as he was before. One High Templar with full energy does get taken out, but a lot of units go down as a result. Pretty much an even trade there. 2 Colossi at a time now being Chrono boosted out for InCa as he transfers probes to his new 4th base. He's going to attack again. This base is going to be able to escape because the Stalker count is so low, but the SCVs are not going to be so lucky. And again, if he tries to run down that ramp, there are storms waiting. Supply only 20 up for InCa here, but he's forced the command center to be completely relocated. The few Stalkers he does have blink forward here. He's going to have to start adding more Stalkers in as he's trying to really commit to these Colossi. Need a few more Stalkers to deal with the Vikings. There are 5 Vikings out right now. He's continuing to make 2 at a time as he's got so many medevacs out. In fact, 10 medevacs out in general right now. Look at the resources for InCa. He can't even spend them all because he's maxed out. He's got his opponent contained. He's not even losing units when he trades. And right now, another attack is going to commence. The army way out of position for our Terran player. But will the High Templar get some storms off? Because it is a heavily upgraded army if you can get a good concave with it. Remember, no ghosts in the composition as well, so he's got no real answer for these High Templar. Now, his army's going to be way out of position. InCa's going to have a really good concave here at the top of the ramp. He's going to be able to storm on top of these Vikings, but you know what? Hope Torture with an awesome army, and his positioning here is great. He's got to dodge a few more storms, though. The Vikings trying to take out the Colossi, and Hope Torture actually beating this army pretty cost-efficiently, but the storms may change the battle. No, the answer is no. Hope Torture has done it. This is why you have to have Stalkers in your composition. You have to be very prepared to engage perfectly. Now Hope Torture, even in supply with his opponent, he's got a timing now where he can be very aggressive. Look at that. InCa's army consists of 1 Colossus, a few High Templar, and some Zealots. And Hope Torture is not going to wait. He's actually stimming way far away because he wants to hit now. He knows the position he's in. This is a slippery slope for InCa. He may end up losing here. This Nexus is certainly going to go down. It does buy him some time to get some real units out. By the looks of things, Hope Torture not going to slow down the push, not going to go for the external base, just going to keep pushing towards the natural. He's got a better concave down here at the top of the, or bottom of the ramp, but he decides to surrender that, giving that to his opponent. His opponent does break down the ramp. Could have gotten a really nice engagement there. And now more gateways being added, 2 Colossi at a time, still rallying out for InCa. His extra economy from that 4th base definitely kicking in here. He's able to remax, but there was a timing where Hope Torture could have actually potentially taken that game, or at least taken out the bottom right base. He hesitated a little bit though, and now InCa pulling ahead in supply again. He's got +2 shields on the way for his units. It's going to put him at 3-2-3. And continue to add a ton of High Templar into this mix. Ooh, Hope Torture going to go for a big drop. I like this move, considering the position he's in now. Got to do stuff like this to catch up, shut down your opponent's production, keep him in his base so you can keep that 4th base up. There are Zealots, though, going to work here at this 4th base. SV is having to be pulled. And the army actually going to come back to deal with this. Meanwhile, as the army of InCa moves into position to close in on that 4th base, the drop goes off in the main base of InCa. He pushes this back with only Colossi and a few Archons. Tries to target down these SCVs. The Archons should be targeting the Command Center, but either way, a huge drop in the main of InCa. Taking out a lot of stuff. I don't know exactly what, but it's a huge drop. And it looks like he's empowering some gateways. Going to get that Forge, which will stop the +2 shields from being researched. Zealots and Colossi are going to be enough to clean this up, but more gateways being empowered. That's a lot of production lost for InCa, but it won't matter if he just wins here. And I think he very well might. The Colossi now coming in here. He's reconsolidating his forces. Again, no Stalkers deal. The Vikings is a really bad position for InCa. The Colossi not really able to engage correctly, but it looks like he may have too much. The Archon's just tearing through everything with the Colossi support. And despite the fact the Vikings are going to work on these Colossi, there are not enough of them to take them out quickly enough. And the Vikings actually falling very quickly here as well. It's just going to take another attack for InCa to close in here and kind of finish things off. He's got Immortals rallied out now. Look at the Command Center count. It's basically 0 for poor Hope Torture here. He's got 1 Command Center. He's moving off over to the side by the looks of things. Try to take that base again, but more Archons morphing here. And Hope Torture played a good game here, but InCa just had the better engagements at times and had that better economy for a really long time. He had that 4th base up for way longer. He also forced the Command Center of Hope Torture to lift. So he was able to pull ahead there, despite the fact that in the end of the game, the engagements were terrible for InCa. He just had too much stuff. His production was too good. A huge Archon hit on all of those Vikings. And now he's trying to retreat. It's 146 supply to 38. We're going to see a GG any moment now. As the Stalkers blink in, GG! Hope Torture loses game 1 here of the losers match. He's 1 set away of not making it out of his group. On the other hand, InCa takes the first game, and if he wins the next one, he'll have a shot at getting out of this group. So don't go anywhere. We're going to jump into the next game in literally quite a few seconds.